Stereotype this.
Hey, Composing Gloves here, and today we're going to be talking about rests in MuseScore. So, in order to do a rest, so let's talk about, we're talking specifically about rest values. So how long are rests in music theory? What are the symbols for that? Now, we talked about dotted eighth notes, dotted quarter notes, and dotted half notes in the last video, where you take the original value, cut it in half. So if it's a quarter note, you cut it in half, and then you add that half value to the original value. So quarter note's 1 plus a half of a quarter note, which is, so a dotted quarter note lasts a quarter note and an eighth note. So here we have the same rule with rests. So we're not going to even deal with rests as far as dotted versions, but just so you know, that's how you would calculate that out. Now, this is something that MuseScore does for you automatically. So you need to be aware of this because it can ruin your ability to write rhythms later, which when you're writing rhythms, you're going to intuitively want rest places. So you'll sort of seek them out and put them there, but it's also useful to know in case it miscalculates something. So the way you add rest is a little funny in MuseScore. So I have my rest section selected. This is the rest symbol. This is actually a quarter rest. So this symbol represents 1 beat of rest. Now, if we go over here, we'll start with the whole rest. So if we come down here and our measure is worth 4 beats right now, and eventually we're going to get to that. And so this second line from the top, you'll see this little black rectangle. This represents that there is nothing being played right there. It is 4 beats of rest, and you must notate your rests. You can't have nothing being notated there, because then the musician doesn't know that there's time being represented there, and they'll skip right over it. So, and they'll move on to the next notes, and then your song will get all messed up. So you have to notate your rests, and they are super important for rhythm and a number of other reasons. Like, they're just making it important. Like, I shouldn't have to explain why rests are necessary. So this represents 4 beats, and it's always, this black box doesn't quite reach this middle line here, and it always hangs from the D line. Now, in some cases, you're going to have notes that are all over the place, and there are exceptions. So you might move it up or down a line to make it fit. And you'll see that more and more as you go. And so people will just memorize that it's the black box upside down. Okay, now let's make it a half rest. You'll notice it gives us 2 right off the bat. Spacing is a little funny, but we're not going to deal with spacing right now. So it's the exact opposite. So it's on the middle line, a black box facing up, and these are worth 2 beats. So obviously we have 2 of them to fulfill our 4 beats in our measure. So that is a half rest. Now I expect you to memorize these things. Now a quarter rest looks like so, and this one is probably the most. After you get to quarter rest, these will move up and down all over the place depending on the music, especially if you're writing out like piano scores and things like that. So you might see it, but most commonly, if you have any position to write it in, you want it to be written like this. And in the sheet music programs like this, they automatically make these great ones. In written music, it's like this crazy thing that you have to try and write. So I wouldn't worry too much about writing it. But if you had a calligrapher's pen, it'd probably be a lot easier. But you're probably writing it with just a regular pen, so it's whatever. So anyways, this funky looking sort of lightning strike thing when I handwrite it is a quarter rest. So that's 1 beat of rest. And if we come down here, we have an eighth note. That's half of a beat of rest. So we have 2 of those, and they have a little flag, and then it gets cut down. So now we're on the flag. So this is the flag. And so if we go to a 16th note, we'll see that we get 2 flags. And so that's 1 16th note's worth of rest. With the 32nd, we just add another flag. So we can have 16 of these and 4/4 measure. In a measure with 4 beats in it. My bad. I'm using terms that I'm just more comfortable with. And we can have 8 eighth note rests. So that's why there's 8 of them in a 4 beats of a measure. And then, of course, we have 4 quarter notes. So that's 1 quarter, and then a half note, and then a whole note. See if we can get back here. Now, it does look a little funny, so you could just select the measure and hit delete, and it will put it back. There are ways to move the spacings around and stuff. That's sort of your program-specific type choice. So that's how you do it. Now, if you want to really quick just add a rest in at the current value you have selected, you can select your value. So let's say we want a 16th note rest in here. You could select that via, what is that, 5? No, that is 3. And then you push 0, and it will automatically put in all the necessary rests. This is a bad thing for you guys who are brand new and learning, because you won't be calculating out your rest. So I want you to sit here and calculate out some rest, do different exercises. Maybe one day I'll probably put like an annotation over this video and I'll have exercises of some kind. If I get like that intense about this, I might not. But being able to write out your rest is really important, and placing them, you generally want them where they put them by default. So if we were to insert a rest here, let's do one of these. This is like the ideal place. Is it the C line goes down, and I encourage you to handwrite this stuff out. You just become more aware of it. So we've gotten to the point now where we can write out stabs. We are assuming there's 4 beats in our measure. We can write out note lengths and measure and rest lengths, and we can actually probably write out some basic percussion parts that don't have any pitches. They're just rhythms. And so you could be like, note here and then a rest here and then a note here, and it go on and on and on. You could do that. So those are options, but we're going to get more and more into it because obviously you're just learning what the notes are and what they represent. Like, oh, that's 1 beat, that's 2 beats, that's 3 beats. And we're going to get into this concept of beats and note pitches and stuff, and note pitches. And we're going to really start to build up a core here. But this first stuff is mega important to understand, that you have a clear, conscious knowledge about what these things are. If you have any questions, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day. Hey, Composer Gloves here. This is the first video in how to make a song in FL Studio 12. Assumably your first song. Perhaps you just downloaded the demo or gone about some other means of obtaining FL, hopefully by purchasing it. And you are now looking to create some sort of song.